Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty, Haggerty10 Twitter handle. Tell you that every day, you know that by now. And I'm joined today, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Herald sports writer Graeme McGarry. It's Thursday, September the 22nd, the day after the night before, Graeme, in Scotland, a wonderful 3-0 victory over Ukraine. Some Celtic players featured in that. We'll get to that. But I draw your attention, as always, to the ticker tape running along the bottom. Hit that subscribe button, guys. You know what I'm going to say. And join us. Get access to everything on the website, all the written stuff on the website, some wonderful stuff on there, and the daily pods. Subscribe to the Celtic Way, supporting top quality journalism, covering the club that you love. It's £1 for 2 months of full access. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Now, Graeme, you were at the Scotland game last night, weren't you?
Yes, I was, mate. Only got in 20 minutes ago because of that traffic outside Hampden. Murder. Absolute murder.
A wonderful performance, but and in particular, lots of Celtic connections in that performance, but Callum McGregor in particular, Kieran Tierney, Stuart Armstrong, Greg Taylor came on. But just a great performance from Celtic. As a force to have it, Scotland.
Freudian slip there, Tony.
Indeed, yes.
No, listen, I think overall for Scotland, it was a really positive night. And there was lots of Celtic connections at the heart of that. And right at the very heart of it, as you say, is Callum McGregor, who I think people are starting to sort of recognise how valuable he is for Scotland. I think it took a while for people to kind of, not just fans, I think managers as well, maybe, to give him the role that he really deserves. And he's really central to everything that Scotland do now. I was a wee bit concerned last night with Gilmore being out, whether they would, go a wee bit route one. But, Calmac set the tone and everything went through him. I thought him and McTominay, I thought complimented him quite well too in the midfield. But I thought McGregor was setting the pace. It was him that was setting the tone. I thought it was magnificent last night, and Celtic fans won't be surprised. They've become accustomed to these kind of performances from him over the last few years.
I was going to say that he is becoming a wonderful player for both club and country, and pivotal to success that both club and country is having. Yeah,
and I think it can go unnoticed just how good he is, often for Celtic as well, because he's very understated at times and he keeps it simple at times. But some of his forward passing last night between the lines was really good. He was getting the ball into McGinn's feet all the time, and I thought I've got to say I think he was the man who really kind of got Scotland ticking last night. And again, in his usual understated way, maybe a lot of people didn't notice it, but I thought he was really good. Yeah.
Tell you how good he was. John Collins was in the ITV studios. He was watching the game with Mark Pugac and Charlie Adam, and John Collins couldn't stop smiling. He was just like, he said, that's the type of Scotland performance that I like to see. Great tempo, great zip about the passing. He said players, as you say, Callum McGregor in particular, playing through the lines, and they were well worth of the 3-0 win.
Yeah, I thought the shape really helped him. I thought, and Callum said something similar after the game, that they just felt really comfortable. They knew when to press. They always had options when they were on the ball. I think that the sign of a good player, I always say, is that when they've got the ball, they've always got space, they've got time to operate, and especially in a crowded midfield, if you can do that, that's a really valuable quality. And Callum McGregor always has that. He always seems to have time. He always seems to pick the right option. I'll tell you a story. I played once against Jerry McCabe in a charity match. I must have been about 25 at the time, and he must, I don't know, he'd have been in his 50s, I guess. I could not get near him. It just shows you that Callum's like that. Probably a wee bit fitter than Jerry these days, mind you, but still couldn't get close to him, and it's a mark of a good player in my book if you've got loads of space and time and you just seem to play your own game at your own speed.
If you're watching Jerry, you are one of the finest players never to have played for your country. Jerry McCabe's a brilliant player. Played against him a couple of times at Hampden as well.
He's still good.
He can still run rings around with it now. A fantastic player. All the best to you, Jerry. I hope you're watching. Now, Alan Robertson comes in and says, "Morning, guys. Steve Clark has been watching Ange," with a wee cheeky wink there. But it was quite a similar performance to the Celtic ones in the recent past, with a high press and because they pressed Ukraine all over the place. It was night and day to the performance for the World Cup qualifier, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit worried when I saw the lineup, and I thought he was going to go with the 3 at the back again. And I was a bit surprised when Greg Taylor wasn't in the lineup, I've got to say. And that's what first made me think, no, it must be a back 4, because surely Taylor would just have slotted in for Robertson, that'd made sense. But the way it was set up with Tierney at left back, obviously, I think really worked well. But it's a good point there. I think Scotland played a similar kind of high energy style. And from about 10 minutes into the second half, I don't think Ukraine got over the halfway line. Never mind up to Craig Gordon's goal. So we were saying that Craig, I mean, his missus was about to give birth, but he could have went to the hospital after about 60 minutes if he wanted.
I'll come back and it'd have been now, yeah.
Exactly, aye. So no, it was there was shades of Celtic in there. I can see what he was getting at there. Aye.
And Alan Robertson also comes in. John McGinn's big backside to the rescue. The finest backside ever of a player for Scotland since Kenny Dalglish, methinks, Graeme, and that's high praise indeed.
I think I called it his imperious rear end in my report, I think.
Well, there's only one other player who could use a backside like that, and that was King Kenny. You can't hold a candle to King Kenny in that terms, but John McGinn's certainly got that going from, was Alan just commenting all day, Greg Taylor with the biggest smile when he came off the bench for KT. Yeah, I did notice that as well, to be fair, but yeah, indeed. Now,
it's interesting as well, Tony. I was just going to say, KT after the game was talking in hugely kind of warm tones about Greg Taylor, because obviously he watches Celtic games still every week, big massive Celtic fan, as we all know, and he's been blown away by Taylor, I think, as many of us have this season. So that was really good to hear that, the guy who ostensibly he's been brought in to replace Greg Taylor has such a high opinion of the job he's doing. I think that speaks volumes for how well he is doing.
Well, let's talk about Taylor. Now, each and every man to their opinion and their own, and they stick by it. That's fair enough. But I read something the other day, and it was former Hearts United player, Ipswich Ryan Stevenson, saying that he felt that Stephen Kingsley was better than Greg Taylor. And I kind of read that a bit incredulously, Graeme. And I don't want to have a downer on Ryan. It's his opinion. That's fair enough. But yeah, I guess I think many people would say at this moment in time, you've got to disagree with that, surely.
I think they're two different players as well, Tony. I think the reasoning behind bigging up Kingsley, I think, is because he could play in that role that Tierney plays for Scotland if it is a back 3. He could play that left centre back, or he could play left back. And no harm to Stephen Kingsley, who I think is a fantastic player. Wonderful set pieces, great left foot. But massive butt here. Just talk about John McGinn's massive butt. Here's another one. I think Taylor, the form that Taylor's been showing over the past year probably, but especially in the last couple of months since the start of the season, I think he's been far away the best fullback in the country. Phenomenal performances from him, and one of Celtic's best and most consistent performers this season as well. I think even on Sunday when Celtic were miles off it, he was still at the top of his game. I still thought he was the one Celtic player who maybe came out with a wee bit of credit in that game, because he just kept sticking to his task and getting on the ball and trying to do what he could from that left back position. Considering where he started in his Celtic career, I think there was doubts about him, whether he could make the step up to the level. I think physically and ability-wise as well, people were questioning him. But I think he's answered all of those questions, and he's answered them emphatically since Ange Postecoglou's come in. And I've just got to say, I think, as much as I like Kingsley, I don't think there's a comparison between the two at the minute.
Sean Martin will be loving this segment right now. He's a big
Taylor fanboy.
He's a huge fan of the Port Glasgow or Inverclyde Greg Taylor Celtic Supporters Club. Sean runs, I think, But indeed, I mean, I've got to agree with everything that you said there. I mean, Greg Taylor's an automatic pick on the Celtic team sheet. And you look at the player who's kept him out of the Scotland team last night, Kieran Tierney. Yeah. Kieran Tierney is a fantastic footballer, but you said there that Kieran Tierney spoke in glowing terms of Greg Taylor, so even he recognises that, I've got serious competition in my hands in this Scotland squad, so I have to perform at the best of my ability, because this guy's here can come in and fit in seamlessly. And I think Ange touched upon it last week in his presser when he was asked about Greg Taylor, and he was saying it was other people that put a glass ceiling on Taylor, that said that he pigeonholed him and said he could only reach a certain level. And he said that he's one of the best players he's coached and trained because he just wants to get better, and that appeals to Ange. That's the kind of player that Ange loves, that he sets no barriers and no limits to the levels that they can reach in their career. And he said Greg Taylor's one of them. He just wants to get better every day. And Steve Clarke thought the world of him. He brought him into the international setup, and you can see why.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously had him at Kelly as well, so he knows him very well.
Yeah.
And the thing with Greg, and you can say, a similar kind of thing about Anthony Ralston as well.
Yes.
Is that he really took on board what Ange Postecoglou wanted to do. And I've got to admit, last summer when we were down in Bristol and Wales in pre-season, and Ange was telling us about his inverted fullbacks and how he wanted to play, and I've got to say, like, I had massive doubts about Tony and Greg being able to do that. Take the ball into midfield with their back to goal and protect it and move it on. And I just thought, I don't know if they've got the skill set for this, but they've proven me wrong and probably a lot of other people as well, by the way they've taken to it. And as you say, I think it's all born from that humility that the two of them have got, and their willingness to kind of work hard and just try and be the best players that they can be. I mean, I think probably from natural ability, you'd look at both of them and say, they're not the most naturally gifted players you've ever seen in your life, but, they make up for that with hard work, essentially, and a willingness to get better every day. And I think with Taylor, especially now, you're starting to see that he's maybe a better player than what we thought as well.
Yes.
But certainly Ange Postecoglou's made him even better than I thought he could be.
Now, there's a lot of people touting him for this. Michael Ross Taylor, future Celtic captain. That would be a complete turnaround. And Maria Ann saying, love Greg Taylor, our little pocket rocket. She says, there you go. And I think the praise that's coming for Greg Taylor is more than earned. As you said, that's that application and endeavour and effort and attitude that they have. You can't beat a determined player like that, Graeme, who wants to get better every time he steps onto the pitch. And those are the kind of players that Ange loves to work with or work alongside. And with his coaching, he does make them better because the proof's in the pudding with Ralston and Taylor.
Definitely. I mean, what I've got to say is, you look back to the Real Madrid game, and I think if anyone said to you a couple of years ago, you're going to put Greg Taylor up against Federico Valverde, you'd have been having kittens about that, the prospect. Now, don't get me wrong, Valverde played well because he's a world-class winger.
Yeah.
However, Taylor went toe-to-toe with him, and it was a great contest between the pair, And I think Valverde certainly knew he'd been in a game by the end of it, So I think there's a huge belief that Ange Postecoglou's put into these players, guys like Greg Taylor, who maybe thought, maybe I'm not going to make it at Celtic at one stage. Same with Tony Ralston. And now they have no fear about going to, Champions League level against these type of players, and not only trying to contain them, but trying to impose their game on the opposition as well. And I think in both the Champions League games so far, I think Taylor's been an absolute standout.
So I was saying that Greg Taylor's just a wee tad better than Stephen Kingsley.
I hate comparing players, you know what I mean? But I think they're very different. They are very different. So no harm to Stephen Kingsley, but if you were going to give me the choice, who's going to play left back for Scotland, Greg Taylor or Stephen Kingsley, I would go with Taylor every day of the week.
Indeed, my sentiments exactly. Now, come on to this subject because I know you're a big David Turnbull fan.
Yes.
Now, David Turnbull withdrawn from the Scotland squad due to an ankle injury that he picked up against St Mirren on Sunday. Just another wee setback for Turnbull when he was starting to get kind of some regular game time, albeit some starts, and also coming on for lots of substitute appearances. Scored a cracking goal against Rangers when he took advantage of John McLaughlin's faux pas, but he was starting to build up a wee kind of head of steam. We setback there for him, Graeme, obviously.
Yeah, I think the changes on Sunday, I think being part of that, I don't think it helped him, and I don't think it helped Aaron Moy maybe either. The two of them are playing together. I think the two of them, the Celtic midfield, I think, is based on being quick on the ball, and I think you can afford to have one player maybe who likes to take a wee bit more time, and likes of Turnbull, likes of Moy. Both of them been in there. I don't think it really worked. I think one of Matt O'Reilly or Hatati's got to be in there at all times in my book. And then you could obviously have a Turnbull or a Moy playing if you want to rejig it. But so I thought maybe he was a wee bit unfairly criticised by some after that game. I thought he was kind of scapegoated a wee bit. Which, listen, sometimes that happens. The Scottish players, especially young Scottish players, tend to be singled out when things don't go well. But as you know, Tony, I'm a massive fan of David Turnbull. I've watched him ever since he was a kid coming through. And I knew he was going to big things. Wasn't surprised at all when Celtic signed him. I think he's got real talent. And I think he'll prove that in time. I really do. I think he's got so much to offer. It's a shame that he had this wee ankle injury, but I don't think it's going to be anything too serious. I think he'll be back in the Celtic picture, hopefully, when the international break's over.
Now, Alan Robertson, again, Alan's been commenting quite a few times. Turnbull has a few people to convince. Was too pedestrian versus St Mirren. Peg Leg Lonergan comes in and says, I'd fear for Turnbull this season. Now, you and I, he comes back and says losing form and fitness now too. Well, that's fair enough, Peg. Like, that's your opinion. That's if that's what you're seeing, so be it. But I think in Graeme and myself, we are big Turnbull fans. We think he brings a lot to the table, and like Graeme, we've watched him for a considerable period of time, and charted his development. Matt E comes in and says Turnbull definitely has more games for us. Best Scottish player at the club, in my opinion. Well, do you go along with that, Graeme? Because I know you rate him very, very highly.
I think Callum might have something to say about that, but yes. But no, he's up there. I mean, I love Turnbull, and I think, I don't disagree necessarily with what Alan's saying there. I think he was a wee bit pedestrian against St Mirren.
Yep.
He wasn't alone in that, I've got to say. I just think the midfield didn't really work that combination. Didn't move the ball quickly enough, and as I say, that's not really his suit either. He likes to play, take a wee bit of time. We've all seen him chopping it back in the edge of the area, finding that wee bit of space, and then try to get the killer ball. So I understand that. I do think he had a poor game on Sunday. I'm not getting away from that, but I think that in the fullness of time, David Turnbull will prove to be a really huge asset for Celtic and for Scotland moving forward.
I agree with that. Now, we were both there on Sunday, Graeme, and it was very uncharacteristic of Celtic. Now that I've got you here, may as well ask your thoughts on Sunday. But bad day at the office, bin it, clash of strips, clash of everything, just that kind of thing.
It was training to become like that Man U strip, innit, for back in the day.
I wrote an opinion piece on it the other day, a digest piece, and I said you can blame many things, but you can't blame the strip. And I'm not saying that there wasn't a clash because the shorts and the sort of stuff, and the referee was wearing black and stuff, and it might have been a terrible spectacle to watch on the telly. But it doesn't detract from the fact that just Celtic weren't at it, were they? Let's be honest.
No, I mean, I thought, funnily enough, early on, Celtic were passing the ball about quite well. I thought, so the strips aren't an issue here. Even though it was difficult to watch, as you say. It was, but listen, I think the main thing was there was just too many changes. And I think the fact that Ange even said after the game, when he was asked about it, he said potentially. That makes me think he means aye. There's too many changes. The fact he's even hinted that it might have been that. It just upset the rhythm. I understand why he did it, because obviously he made 9 changes for the Ross County game in the League Cup. Didn't affect him in the slightest. Played really well. Won the game comfortably. So I can see why he made the 6 and he thought it would be all right. But I just thought it was kind of one too many, especially when you come up against a team like St Mirren, who are really well drilled in that 3-5-2, high energy, in your face, don't give you a second. I thought Celtic needed their top performers that day. They needed a bit of need that sharpness as well, guys who've been playing regularly. It's difficult for guys who have been on the bench to then come into a game like that on a Sunday lunchtime and find the kind of energy and the drive and everything to kind of match what St Mirren were bringing to the party, As I say, I'm not saying Celtic players weren't working hard, I know they were, but when you've got a team like that coming up against you, I think you need to be really sharp, and there was just too many Celtic boys that were off it, I think. And as I say, I think that the changes did disrupt the rhythm that Celtic have been playing in. I mean, you look at them on Wednesday night, they should have absolutely wiped the floor with Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean, should have won it 3-4-1 at least. And then to turn up and put that display in, the only thing you can say that was different was the personnel. And I think that really affected it. But I don't think it'll affect them going forward. I think Ange might have, took note of that, and maybe I don't think you'll see so many wholesale changes after European games going forward.
I don't think anybody was brave enough to ask Ange about the strip clash Well,
No.
after he wasn't
I
asked to
certainly wasn't going to ask him about it because I knew you
I,
one of those you get one of those mates off him, and then that would be
I
it.
think so. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
funny because it was only afterwards that after the game and I was, on social media, people kind of brought it up and said it was really bad. And
Yeah.
had I thought near the time, I might have said to him, but as you say, you probably got a mate in the 100-yard stare, wouldn't you? Probably, so
I
probably
don't
best.
think, as you say, he's not one for excuses, So I
No,
think
he's not. No, definitely
I don't
not.
think he would. I don't think he'd a bit on that. I think, and I don't actually think it was an issue on the day. It
Yeah.
certainly was difficult for us to pick out players sometimes, and you were wondering, who's that at the back post? No, it's a St Mirren guy, So, it was but I think overall, it didn't really cause St Mirren players that many problems, So you can't use that as an excuse.
I guess that the Motherwell game can't come quick enough for Celtic manager,
Yeah.
players, and the supporters. I know Andy's in Australia at the minute, Graeme, and he's been doing some broadcasting interviews over there about
Yeah.
various things, but they're doing a recce for the Sydney Super Cup in November.
Mm-hmm.
He's been batting away the Leicester City question, which we spoke about the other day, but just sort of saying, get used to it, because he's going to be linked with all and sundry, isn't he? For the majority of the time that he's here.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? It's going to happen if you have success at any level. People for higher up the food chain, if you want to call it that, will come looking for you. Or people with deeper pockets, maybe we should phrase it like that. But I think Ange, as he stressed in that interview the other day, he's working at a massive club. It's everything he's ever wanted in his career. The fans love him. He's really
Living the dream was the phrase, Graeme. Living the dream.
There you go, living the dream. So he started a project here, and I don't think he's anywhere near finished it. And listen, stranger things have happened, and I might have egg in my face here at some point, but I don't see him doing a midnight flit, let's just say, like a certain former manager.
Can you have more egg in your face than I have with this Barnet? It's getting cut, so I never right after this bulletin, so I never put any product on it this morning. So I know it's before the watershed, just in case there's any children watching. It's not a scary man. Just I will get it attended to. But there you go. Nah, you're right, Graeme. I think, as you say, he's happy. There is a project. He's want to see that through. When you talk about constantly making Celtic a Champions League competitive team, then you sort of think to yourself, and I've said before, and you'll see it as well, sitting in front of him, one of the things you have to do with that is listen intently to what he's saying, and really study what he's saying, because he does signpost it. He kind of tells you his intentions, and I think that's why sometimes you get the mate patter, because I think he's probably been asked the same thing, and he's at the risk of repeating himself at times. But if you listen, he's quite an honest operator, shrewd operator, very, very clever man, but he certainly seems to be a man of fibre and honesty, just from the times I've sat in front of him anyway.
Yeah, and I think, when one of the last times I spoke to him was when the Brighton job was sort of being touted, and he didn't come straight out and say, no, I wouldn't be interested in that, right? Because at the end of the day, he's got to leave a bit of wiggle room just in case. I think everyone's realistic, and if, let's say, Ten Hag gets sacked or Klopp gets sacked or somebody like that, and Liverpool or Man United come in, then it's a different kettle of fish altogether, and you've got a decision to make then. The thing about Ange as well, he's very respectful, so he wouldn't want to come out and say, oh no, Brighton's way beneath me now because I'm a Celtic manager. But I think you could read between the lines of what he was saying, and what he was saying was it would take a job of that magnitude, a top four, maybe somebody like that, to even tempt him into leaving Celtic. Because why would you want to leave, with the greatest respect to these clubs, to go to Leicester City, bottom of the table, Brighton, fantastic club as they are. There is a ceiling at Brighton, a real ceiling at Brighton, I think. So I think it's going to take something really special to tempt Postecoglou away whenever he does eventually leave.
And he is a special manager, because you get that vibe. Whenever you sit in front of him, you do learn, don't you? You learn stuff, and I always think that special football people, Celtic and my team, when I've sat in front of them and I've learned something coming away, not always learn something when I come away from an Ange press conference or an after match thing when you're talking to him, and you expand your football knowledge. He has that way about him, hasn't he?
Yeah, you can certainly see why the players have responded to him. He's got a kind of air of authority about him. He can be quite chummy at times, but then there's a definite line.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get too close to his players. He certainly doesn't get too close to us. And I think he just has a kind of.
But I quite like that, Graeme.
Aye.
I quite like that. When you sit in front of people, you do get close to some people more than others because you deal with them on a regular basis. But quite like the battle lines that are drawn with Ange. We have a job to do. He has a job to do. If you respect him, he'll respect you. That kind of thing. But don't waste his time by asking him a silly question.
Aye. The good thing is he doesn't expect any favours, So
yeah,
he knows that he's going to be judged if results go south. He's going to get stick. If they stay where they are for the most part at the moment, he's going to be praised. And he knows we've got a job to do. And he knows that he wants to be, appraised honestly on the football that his team's producing. He doesn't want to be, I'm your pal,
Yes.
He doesn't want any succulent Ange journalism, as they say. So
you said that, not me.
He's so far he's barely put a foot wrong, And I've got to say,
he had a great line in Australia yesterday. We were asking him about stuff and how well it was going with Celtic, and he said, "I lost my first game in a year. I had to get out of the country." So he went back to his own folk, as Billy Connolly would say, go back with your own folk, and that's what he did, and I quite like that because he's got a wonderful sense of humour when you can drag it out of him,
Yeah, he definitely does, and as I say, I think what he's proven to be, rather than just a great manager for the team and putting the team out in the pitch, I think he's a great figurehead for the club as well, and he's somebody that all parts of the support can get behind, because at times the Celtic support can be fractured, and you can have people who maybe have a go at the board and people who aren't happy with the Green Brigade or whatever. But I think one unifying, thing that runs right through the Celtic support is 99.99% of them are right behind Ange Postecoglou.
It's all about the Celtic collective, Graeme.
Yep,
the
absolutely.
Directors, the manager, the players, the fans, and that buy-in that he's got. He's very big on the Celtic collective. He's spoken about it at length. Again, if you listen, you'll hear him talking about that, and that's what we got. And I agree with you. I've always said that there is a man in the Celtic managerial position who is worthy of it in the eyes of the Celtic supporters. He's very statesmanlike. He's very charismatic. He's very charming, and he knows when to push the right buttons and say the right things. And just the way he holds himself and the way he deals with the likes of ourselves and every question that comes his way, I think that's why he's been spoken in the tones of like people comparing him to Steen, Neil and Rodgers, and that's quite handsome and fulsome praise for someone who inherited a shambles when he walked in the door just over 12 months ago. So in that short space of time, and when he's mentioned in the same breath as these other guys, then he he's doing something right.
Yeah, I think it was exactly what Celtic needed at that time, was somebody like Ange. They needed somebody that was a unifier, who everybody could kind of get behind, because sometimes you forget, just how much of a shambles it was when he walked in the door. There was players who were there who were clearly going to leave. A lot of players who just didn't want to be there. The squad needed completely revamped. There was a lot. Confidence was rock bottom after what happened in the failed kind of 10 in a row season, if you like, and all the COVID stuff that happened with Dubai. And there was a period there where every kind of step the club took, it seemed to be the wrong one.
Yes.
And since he's come in, I think he's corrected the course. And I've got to say, there's a lot of praise for Michael Nicholson should come there as well. I think he's been a great a great influence as well. And I think him and Ange worked together really, really well. And there has been a loosening of the purse strings a wee bit. So the board have got behind him. And that shows the faith they've got in him too.
So much so that a lot of people, including myself, Graeme, took an interest in the financial figures when they were released. Normally, that's my father once said, that's 4 gallon being poured into a 2-gallon head. But I kind of understood it a wee bit better this time, because it was broken down for me by the wonderful Kieran Cannon, who's got an article on our website today. You can check that out, guys. But as always, that wonderful expression, 4 gallon getting in a 2-gallon head. I've always had a 2-gallon head, so I don't have a head for figures.
You said it, Tony, not me.
Yeah, correct. I did. No, self-deprecation is the way it be. People love it. You know, don't take ourselves that seriously. But yeah, but Graeme, that's been magic. That's been half an hour of in really quickly.
Go on, mate. Aye, thanks for having me.
Celtic, you know, and obviously with the Scotland contingent last night, and also there's other internationals being played. I think Kyogo's going up against America, isn't he?
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And Maida going up against the US men's national team, but sadly Cameron Carter-Vickers won't be there. But,
unfortunate.
But that'll be good. I'll be interested. I'm intrigued by that one. I'm sure a lot of Celtic supporters will be intrigued by that game as well. So tune into that. That's on Friday, isn't it? I believe.
I'm not sure, mate, to be honest. No, I don't know. But one of these early morning jobs, is it?
That probably 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, there you go. Before you go, Graeme, great chat from Graeme today, and the usual high standards from Mr. Haggerty. Maybe not the hair, but the usual high standards indeed.
At least you've got some, Tony.
Yeah, well, that's not a dig at you, to be fair.
Thanks, Alan.
You'd know if I was digging you. Aussie, good stuff, guys. Yeah, listen, thank you very much. We don't just pay lip service to you guys. We appreciate the comments that come in. We couldn't do this show without you. We like to bounce off you guys' comments and take them and answer your questions as well. So we really do appreciate it. We've only been around for just slightly more than a year. I think the podcast's been going slightly less than a year, but we enjoy it. It's great fun, and it's great having guests like Graeme on, and obviously Sean and myself do it on a regular basis, but others. And tomorrow I'll be joined by the wonderful Alan Morrison from Celtic by Numbers, so don't miss that. Alan gives a great slant on things. Myself and Graeme are eye test guys, but Alan does the science behind the stats. He's terrific. He's really good. He tells you lots of things.
He's punctuated many a match report of mine, I'll tell you, Tony, some of his stats.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. So look forward to that. You'll see Alan Morrison tomorrow. But all that remains for me to say is thanks, Graeme. Really enjoyed that. That was one of the quickest half hours ever, actually. But some great chat, some good comments. Thank you for the comments, guys. As I say, we love the fact that you tune in every day. We build a wee following on this, Graeme, indeed. And I say, subscribe to the Celtic Way. You know what to do. Support top quality journalism covering the club you love. £1 for 2 months of full access. You can see me and Graeme talking rubbish on the pods, and you can read other great stuff on the website www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thank you, Graeme. Cheers, Aussie.
Cheers, guys.
Actually, it's not Brill Cream I use, but hey, not far off it. Guys, take care. I'll see you with Alan Morrison tomorrow. Graeme, cheers for that.
Cheers, Tony. Thanks.